What's up, everyone? Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to, I think this is episode 86 of Demand Gen Live. We've been doing it every week for coming up on 2 years now, which is pretty crazy to think about. Couple quick announcements. The first one is we had an event planned for Thursday, which will be canceled, just so everyone knows. So we can't remove it from your calendar because it's through Zoom. So just to let you know, on Thursday at noon, that event will not be happening. And also Demand Gen Live for next week will be canceled due to the holiday in the US, as well as after we do this event, I'm going to pack up my bags and I'm going to head out to Costa Rica for a little while. So I'll be taking a little bit of a vacation myself. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. It's going well. Do some relaxing, do some thinking, hopefully come up with a couple of next breakthrough ideas. A couple more announcements. We continue to be hiring at Refine Labs. I think we have 20 to 25 job openings. We continue to bring on stronger and stronger talent and also really awesome customers. And so I've made a call out a couple times on the podcast of like, hey, if you're interested in thinking about seeing if you could fit here, feel free to shoot me a message. And actually 3 people have shot me a message, and all 3 of them have been a good fit for a role. So if you feel like you have the skills and you want to join here and you enjoy the thoughts and the things that we do, feel free to reach out in the LinkedIn DM. And this is not on the agenda, but where I wanted to get started today and why I alluded to that we're on episode 86 here is to talk through the importance of consistency in marketing. And I think that it's just totally undervalued. Like I feel like I don't see a lot of companies or people executing at the level that we are with the consistency that we are. And it matters. And so we talk about the idea of stacking growth, about how we started with LinkedIn and then we moved to LinkedIn video and then we moved to events and then we added a podcast and then we added YouTube and now we're adding TikTok. But we don't stop doing the things that we were doing before. We figure out how to keep doing them better, and we keep figuring out how to either more, better, more frequent, something like that, so that you build a base of tactics that work, and then you start building on top of them, which is where you get the compounding gains. So what I'm recommending, we'll get into some of the topics here in 2022 annual planning, but the take home going into 2022 planning is, what are the couple of channels or tactics or things that you're doing that are going to drive the most results for you? I was going back and forth with a new CMO of an early stage company, less than $5 million in revenue, by email today, talking through strategy and planning. And she was thinking about looking at some technology. And I was just like, at your stage, you don't need a bunch of tech. You need to figure out you need to understand your customers. You need to position your product the right way, and you need to figure out 1 or 2 marketing channels that really work, and that'll get you well over 20 million ARR. We don't need some big 6-month technology implementation at this point. And so, thinking about 1, what are the things that are going to work for you, and then can you demonstrate how they work and understand the dynamics of how they work? And then once you understand the dynamics and you've proven that they work, how can you execute them consistently over time to continue to get the output that you're looking for? That was a little bit of a rant coming into this episode, but now we'll get back onto the agenda. Consistency really matters, and I interact with more than 50 companies, both at our customers and a bunch of people in a bunch of different ways and places. And it's just it's not as common as you'd think. Transitioning to the agenda, where I want to start here, and it's actually kind of, it's building on what we talked about last week about we need to rethink what a demo is. Maybe a demo that's been for the past 15 years where you sit down with a sales rep and they show you the product manually for 30 minutes. Maybe it's the point where buyers actually want something different in order to learn, or maybe they don't know that they want this, but it would work better if you did it one way. And so I didn't go into a ton of depth about how this could work, and I'm going to use this opportunity to kind of go deeper, because that was an idea that we hadn't really talked about, which is part of the reason why we do this show in the first place. So the topic is how demand teams can run sales at scale. And if you are executing marketing properly right now, it's basically sales at scale. And so I want to talk through what you could do and how you could do this. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take things that right now that you rely on your sales team to manually one-to-one tell your buyers something, deliver information from them, from the sales rep to the buyer, which you think needs to be done on a one-to-one meeting, like setting requirements or on digging into pain or, whatever, talking through social proof. And you think that you need to be in a meeting one-on-one, whether it's in person or through Zoom or whatever, to actually deliver that information. But maybe that's just the way you've been thinking about it. And there's actually a different, better way that you could deliver the information because it's just pure communication. And so the first step would be, whether it's going to sales meetings, sitting on them live. That's one of the ways that I've done it before. So it was actually like going to we had sales meetings in person. I went with the field team and we would go and I would just observe, how is the sales rep pitching this? What objections are happening? What questions are people asking? Why is someone leaning in? Why is someone clearly not receptive to the information? Trying to understand those dynamics. And as you start to see patterns. So when you attend those meetings, you can start to get data points of, like when we used that example, the customer really leaned in. And when we talk about the results of that company, the person really leaned in. And when we use this message, these are the things, like the 3 or 4 or 5 nuggets, this feature that are really resonating with people. And then we're going to look and we're going to say, these are the 5 most common questions that people ask. And then we're going to look and see, these are the 3 to 5 most common objections of why people push back and not receptive to the information. So like always on this show, step 1, understanding customers. This time through not like broad market research, but understanding when someone's in a sales conversation, what's going on. And then once you have all that data and you understand it, then you need to figure out, how do we get someone to understand all this information at scale? So then if one of the reasons why someone leans in is because there's social proof from one of your top customers about how they got this great result through X, Y, and Z by using your thing. And right now they put up this pretty slide in there at the end of their demo and say, here's what ABC company did. Then how could you repackage and retool that and then give that to the entire market so people consume it? For instance, making a 30-second animated video and then distributing it using LinkedIn ads to the C-suite and the VP level and the directors at the target accounts that you're going after. And then track how many people watched at least 27 seconds of the 30-second video. That's one way that you could do it. And then you got 14 other things you got to figure out how to tell the market. And you can go through that process over and over. And then at some point, you're going to have to figure out a new angle to tell the same thing, right? You only have certain amount of features, value propositions, things like that. So at some point, you're going to have to just figure out, you're not going to create a new case study. You're just going to have to figure out a different angle in order to communicate the same things. But then if you actually had the machine running, and like we talk about, you can basically, at this point, in marketing, if you have media dollars and people that create content, then you have an opportunity to tell your entire target account list, your entire total addressable market, however you want to look at it, something new about your product, your company, your category every single day. And it's like an incredible thing. It really is when you think about where B2B marketing was 7 years ago, where it was basically, I did it. We all did it, right? Well, I mean, not we all, but a lot of people on the Zoom I can see nodding their heads. It was build trade show booths, collect email addresses. Maybe you send a couple email blasts, but you're just basically taking the email addresses and contacts and you're sending an Excel sheet to your sales team. That's what B2B marketing was 7 years ago. And now we have all these available tools and all these cool things that we can do, and all way more ownership over an actual buying journey than we did 7 years ago. And I just wish people would understand it, because there's so much opportunity to take advantage of it if you can actually just realize how close it is to being able to actually do it. And that's, if you thought about how to do that with every single piece of content for objections and different things like that, you could essentially you can be running sales at scale every day. We'd love to maybe got a couple questions here.
Yeah, totally. So I think Kate has a good question. I'm going to bring her on. As you were talking, what I was thinking about is, I think there's also an opportunity to put out messages that also help your prospects like self-qualify or disqualify. And so
100%.
even beyond, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah. Someone commented on my post and was like, no, we need to get them into a meeting so that we can help them dig into their requirements. And I was like, what? I'm pretty sure that you don't need a meeting to do that. I'm pretty sure you could do that through marketing if you wanted to, by basically forcing a choice, right? Like, I think that would be the easiest way to help people essentially self-qualify. Yeah, I think it's a great point.
All right, Kate had a question. Ooh, and then Joe, I love your statement. I'm going to bring you on to challenge Chris right after Kate asks her thoughtful question. Kate,
right
you're online.
Right on.
Thank you. So what do you do when the flexibility of your product makes it so that the pain points that your target customer can be really variable, where it's really hard to sort of group them back to a single sort of catch-all bucket or pain point? They've got really specific requirements that features may point to or may not point to. So how do you sort of
what's the product
you're talking about? It's a super nerdy product. It's a printer. It's like basically a 3D printer for electronic devices. So you can print electronic circuit boards on your desk.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound complicated to me. Sounds pretty simple.
Well, I'm getting better at describing it, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I think that, like, because you have a technical product and you sell it to a technical buyer, that you're making an assumption that it's technical, but like, the product's simple. You need to print circuit boards at your desk. Maybe what's the value prop? You print it faster, you print it cheaper, you don't have to do it at high volume. There's pretty simple value propositions, so there's a couple, like, when people run into they're like, my product is too complicated. It only comes down to a couple of different things, but the main one is that you haven't identified who your customer actually is. And so as you get more narrow in who your customer is, the available options of how someone would use it would decrease. Let me know what you think about that, and we can go back and forth a little bit.
Kate looks like she knows who her customer is.
Yeah. And unfortunately, my target customer is people who are in the research arm of things. And so they're trying an enormous amount of stuff in a variety of different ways, and they're hacking the machine to do whatever they want it to do. And they're working with any kind of material you can think to put in it. And so the materials science side of our business, talking about conductive inks and all of the different kinds of conductive inks and all of those things, and the viscosity and all of those things change depending on the material you're using. And so their requirements can get really specific in terms of, I only want to print inks with this viscosity because if I go to market, I need to be able to use this infrastructure. And, I don't want to use, it needs to have this, conductivity and this resistivity and all of these things. And so they have really sort of specific technical requirements that don't necessarily point directly back to a single feature or a single pain point, other than if you sort of catch it all under like materials flexibility. But that's a very broad sort of thing to try and market about, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, with any product, you're going to have top level messaging, and then you're going to have more like detailed messaging. And so top level messaging, I'm inferring here because I only know like surface level about the product, but it's like execute research faster, get to market faster, like whatever they're trying to do, finish your research faster or better would be like the top level message. You have to figure out how to boil that down, right? Because I don't know the customer that well. So there's one, and then you have to figure out, how do I say this so that people really understand? You did a pretty good job explaining it to me, but then like the material flexibility, the viscosity, this thing, like you could have an ad that goes out to researchers, like execute research faster, any material, any viscosity, whatever, anytime. And so
one of the phrases we use about it is, print anything on everything. So yeah, maybe I'm just trying to make it too clever and too complicated, and I just need to make it more simple and take those sort of more general big buckets and then drill down on them once I have their attention.
When people have, and I've worked in plenty of companies, like engineering companies that build custom things and sell technical products and have these big data sheets, like you feel like the buyer's more technical than they are, and you feel like you need to like make the language more technical, but the way you win is by really simplifying so that they're interested. And then once they're interested, then they're going to look at the data sheet, then they might want to talk to somebody, right? But I think that from a value proposition and communication standpoint, like more simple will be better with this one.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Joe, let me see if I can bring you on. I don't want to steal your thunder with your glorious comment, but I will if you don't want to come on live. I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, sweet. So I was just really surprised, Chris, to hear you talk about marketing being able to do the role of sales without any mention of product-led growth. Because a lot of the activities that I heard you mention were things that like an outbound SDR might do, but there's so much more involved to sales in terms of closing the deal, the financial operations of the transaction, the implementation of the software, and being able to coach a customer through onboarding all the way through retention and renewal. So I'd like to hear the answer to how marketing can do all those other things without any mention of product-led growth.
So first off, all of the companies that say that they're doing product-led growth are in the process of building a huge enterprise sales team because they recognize that they can't sell to big accounts at a speed that they want without it. So like even product-led growth is really, we're going to let people on our product until they hit a PQL, and then we're going to run the exact same motion where we call people and try and upsell them. So first off, on product-led growth is a mask. Basically, you get people in the product to run lead gen as opposed to running lead gen outside the product. I agree that the go-to-market motion is better, but like, it's not like you have product-led growth and you have no salespeople. And then what was the main question? Oh, and then I'm not saying that marketing is going to help people execute the transaction. I'm saying that marketing can get someone to the place where they're done buying, where you don't necessarily need to do a demo because the people know everything about the product, the features, the category, why it's right for them, what the value proposition is, who's using it before they get into a demo. But right now, B2B companies have marketing tell none of that story, and they have them run gated ebooks or give away gift cards so that their sales team can tell them all those things. It's just terribly inefficient in my view. It doesn't replace sales, and I don't want to imply that at all. There's plenty of things that especially in an enterprise sales motion, that you need a salesperson to do, like many of the things that you mentioned. My feeling is that at this point now, a salesperson's main responsibility is to help buyers that want to buy. Many B2B buyers don't know how to buy enterprise complex software. They don't know who has to be involved. They don't know how to put together a business case. They don't understand what the process is, whatever those things are. And I think that savvy sales professionals are able to identify these are the key stakeholders that need to be involved. This is the next step. This is, at this point, you're going to need a business case to bring to the CFO. Here's a template for it. I built it for you. There are many things that I feel those are things that I don't see a lot of sales reps executing on because they're too busy trying to convince people to buy. And so I think if you just shift the responsibilities between marketing and sales, where marketing is way more focused on educating buyers so that they want to buy, and then sales is more focused on helping people that want to buy, I feel like that's the more just relevant way to do it in 2022.
Joe, I'm bringing you back on in case you want to add anything else. I love when people ask these types of challenging questions or submit those assertions. It really adds a lot to the dynamic. Anything you wanted to add, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say is we've closed deals with Fortune 500 and product-led growth. Obviously the average selling price is going to be lower, but if a company really wants to have marketing do sales, then marketing needs to be able to own a number, and they need to be able to close some of those logos as well. And I think anyone on the phone who wants to think through building off of all the things you said, like, don't just think about it in terms of outbound SDR, building demand. Really strong marketing teams are also closing deals.
Yeah, no, I love that. If our customers had a way for their customers to check out on their website, I'm positive we'd be driving a ton of revenue. I actually think a lot of the times the sales motion is clunky and actually hurts our results. So I'm with you, Joe. Great point.
I mean, I think about people like Dave Gerhardt. He's come on you before. I mean, the way that he's monetized his community, that's a great example of a product-led growth, unassisted way that his consultancy, for lack of a better term, his personal brand has been able to close revenue. So I think anyone out there, no matter what you're doing, agency, podcast, or selling toothbrushes, all of us can sell product.
Brings me back to my e-com days, where, and I like just reflecting on it, both for product-led or e-com or anything where marketing actually owns the number and there is no sales team, so your marketing actually has to fucking work or you don't drive revenue. I think that there's a lot of marketing teams out there, especially with all of these attribution tools, where there's enough ways where they can get a touch point and influence revenue that most likely would have closed anyway. And then you just have a lot of marketing people taking credit for deals that would have closed. So I'm with you for a lot of angles, Joe.
All right. My AMA list is growing. Did you want to tackle the second agenda item before we open it up?
We'll get back to it. Open it up.
All right. Okay, so Mohammed, Scott, and Danny, get ready. But Mohammed, you're up first. I'm going to bring you on live so that you can ask your question. Welcome to Demand Gen Live.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Megan. Thank you. So yeah, it's been like 3 episodes that I'm attending this amazing and incredible.
Good to have you here. That's awesome.
Uh-oh. Can we hear you, Mohammed? Did you mute? Can you check your sound?
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Do you hear me?
Better.
Yeah, you're back. Jump in.
Okay. So yeah, maybe the question is kind of off topic, but like we are an API that integrating accounting solutions, and a part of our clients are developers who are building fintech solutions. So what do you see the most effective tactic to get to this community? We are working on our contents. We are working on our videos, like short and 10 seconds video, to just like talk about use cases and how our solution help developers to build off their solutions, like neobanks, like alternative lending solutions, any type of fintech solution that you're seeing that they're emerging right now, that they need an access to the financial data. But how do you see the trend of promoting this product, which is then single API, to the developer community, to young CTOs, to the team members who are looking to found a new fintech initiative?
Totally. So the top level strategy is the same. The difference is in the nuances of the content, the channel, and how you distribute it, right? And so I would do 2 things, and I'm interested in going back and forth with you, but the 2 things that pop into my head straight away is I would figure out how to create a show that most likely highlights the stories and the work of the things that people are creating with the API. And so you bring on somebody that did something cool. They probably want to share it because they're doing something cool and innovative. And then they've been able to connect X and X with your tool, and they can talk through the process. And maybe it's a 10 or 15-minute show. And then you get the video, and then you can take the video and you can make it into a podcast. You can take the video, you can chop it up, you can make it on LinkedIn. If those people are influential, you can share them the video, and then they can share it. Maybe they take the video and they share it in Reddit or some other place. Exactly. And you can think about, so like the subject matter expertise content model will work for any buyer. It's just the nuance of what is the content, right? I gave you one example, but there's plenty of ways to win with that. And then the distribution system may actually change a little bit. You notice that I went to Reddit, and there's other I know that there's plenty of other places for developers. And honestly, I'm not ultra up to date on exactly where those buyers spend a lot of their time. So that's one part of the strategy. And then I would have a paid demand strategy on top of it, highlighting either what people are doing or just the features of the things that you can connect at scale, so that people know that it's available. Like it's crazy, and it's crazy how little all of your buyers know about your product specifically.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Not just for you, but I'm talking to everyone on the podcast. Like I'm a big buyer of MarTech, and I don't know any of the details of almost any MarTech tool that I don't use, because none of them market well. I'm their target buyer, and all of us here are a target buyer. And so I'm just like, and that's a marketing company. What about a company that's selling to developers? And so just to highlight the idea that you got to figure out a way to proactively communicate with the entire market so that they understand at least more than just connecting, XYZ company with this category.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so organic, and then like some level of paid strategy. You'll have to figure out the channel, right? Like you'll have scale on Facebook and Instagram, and those people definitely use Facebook and Instagram. So you could use that. Twitter, Reddit might be some nuances, but you probably will have less scale in those places.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, basically like these type of community, they are aware of their business pain points. They know that they need this tool to develop their product, but like from the technical aspect of the story, they're mostly like looking for some solutions to build off their the solution for the pain point. But like there are always like these integrations that can help them to just easily implement to like 8 or 7 accounting softwares. So that's sort of the thing that we are focused on, to just like work on use cases, like talk about use cases, all in, like some keywords like all in one, one API for all, some sort of like value props like this. And yeah, I appreciate the comment on this question, and thank you.
Yeah, I would also look at and try and reverse engineer. It's tough because Zapier had a lot of their growth way earlier, so
exactly.
The tactics that they do now may not be as relevant to you, right? Because the majority of their growth happened a long time ago. But it'd be interesting to look at it as a case study and kind of study what they did, because there's probably some things that you could learn there too.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mohammed. All right, we got some good regulars up. Scott, it's great to see you. I'm looking forward to bringing you on to ask your question. Welcome.
What's up, Scott? Where you been? Haven't seen you in a couple weeks.
I haven't
Good
been
to have
on
you
here,
back.
but I'm a lurker. I never miss any of these. I watched them all. Sometimes I can almost fill in what you're going to say next, because I've watched so many of these and followed you since the beginning. But hey, thanks for having me on. Hey, I just had a question. In 2020, the number one change title on LinkedIn was something RevOps, right? And I checked real quick before this getting on here. I didn't see a lot of RevOps titles with your company. And so I just had RevOps seems to be it's an understatement to say it's kind of the thing that's being talked about a lot. My question is your thoughts about kind of overall, and then also I've heard you talk about it, but not a lot. So just want to get your thoughts on the whole RevOps craze right now.
to go a little bit further on rev, right? Like it's not just rev ops. People are adding things in like revenue marketing and things like that.
Yep.
All marketing should be revenue marketing. I honestly just don't feel like the clarifier is necessary there. It's just like, so people continue to like add little titles to make it feel new, but it's all the same thing, right? Growth marketing, demand gen, basically the same thing. And so when we think about RevOps and why specifically like we at Refine Labs haven't adopted titles like that is because I don't think that anyone really knows what it means. There's really nothing else to say. And so like it's very cloudy as to what that role does. I know like we have a bunch of people in RevOps. They're working with like the stack and operations and things like that, which makes sense. But like, I don't feel like it has a clear definition that I want to adopt. So it would just be picking someone else's word and using it, which is probably not what we're going to do, because what we do here, demand marketing for me is inclusive of moving buyers from never hearing about you to closed one. And so I don't need like specialist titles, right? For me, like we can own the whole thing. It's about not only getting buyers to know about us, but to consider us, to come to our website, to convert, to actually move into a qualified opportunity, to move to close one. And like, I think it's more cohesive from a buyer perspective when one person is looking at that journey. Like even at RevOps, like I'll call some stuff out that I see, like they call it RevOps, but look underneath, it's marketing ops, sales ops, and customer success ops all siloed again.
Yeah.
Like, and so that it does, the whole point of having a RevOps function is a full stack look at the customer journey. And all they do is they call it RevOps and they segment and silo it again, which defeats the entire purpose. And so, that was sort of a rant that went in a bunch of different directions. I don't feel like that title is worth adopting right now for my organization.
My quick thoughts, because as you know, I'm writing a book and I've done like hundreds of interviews, and just my thoughts on it is RevOps is just making people you're making people accountable for bringing in business. That's really what it is, finally, you know. And then the other thing is if they're not careful, you're going to turn the whole company into highly commissioned salespeople, because you're going to have investors and stuff and CEOs putting high pressure on all these different people to hit these sometimes unrealistic numbers. It's not going to be putting the customer first. It's going to be anyway. I think, and so I've been kind of watching from afar, but I've been seeing companies. Everyone's changing their titles. Either a lot of companies aren't even really changing anything. They just think they're doing something good. They change their title.
Yeah, it's just a new title.
The next thing is and then the next thing is it's making people accountable finally. Like
unfortunately, I don't see that in practice. Like I see that people called RevOps, but they're not accountable to revenue. They're not losing their job if the company misses the plan. It's not what I see. I see them putting together a plan. I see them integrating technology. I see them trying to help people hit the goal. But if they don't hit the goal, like they're not the one on the hook for it. I don't think that that's real. I think it's fake accountability, at least in my limited experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love. Hey, thanks for your time.
Yeah, great to have you, Scott, as always. Appreciate the research and the bringing the topics up here.
Yep.
Good to see you.
What you're describing, Scott, is a good ideal to continue to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Danny, it's awesome to have you back tonight. Really excited for you
Danny.
to ask a question. Welcome.
What's up?
Chris is very excited that you're on.
Good to have you back here, Danny. What's up?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me, guys. Just a really general question. So we're going through a lot of changes with the company I'm currently at right now. Our VP of marketing left to a different gig. We're on the process of replacing him along with hiring our first director of demand gen. And one of the things that our CEO is good at is he's ensuring that everyone is in marketing is happy with the current role. So starting Q1, one of the main things that I'm going to be doing is switching to field marketing because that's something that I've always wanted to do. I know earlier you mentioned that something about field marketing. So for someone who is new to field marketing, who is going to be working closely with our field marketing manager, what are like some tips or advice on some things that I could do to excel in the role? I know you mentioned about something how listen to what the sales is pitching along with listening to our customers, right? On what they're saying back, my understanding. But that's all.
Yeah, totally. Let me try. I'm going to give this a shot, and then we'll go back and forth here. But my view on the best way to help your sales team with field marketing is to not only look at field marketing. And so being in the field is awesome. It's one of the best things. You're going to get exposed to customers. You're going to understand. I mean, maybe not for an inside sales team for SaaS, but like if you were truly in the field and going out to customers and working with the reps, you'd get real understanding of what it's like to be a sales rep, which is a massively underrated experience for marketers. It is crazy how few marketers understand what it's like to be a sales rep. And you need to have that level of understanding in order to be an effective marketer. It was a huge turning point for me when I spent 90 days in the field with the sales team and I saw them go to meetings because it was the only meeting that they could get that day, and it was a shitty meeting, and they spent the whole day driving and going to one meeting. And you start to learn, like, it's hard out there. It'd be way better for that sales rep if marketing would deliver just 3 accounts per month or whatever that they could go and talk to, because they'd be able to hit their quota if that happened. And so just getting an understanding of what it's like to be a sales rep will be a forever beneficial skill for you in your career as a marketer. The next one is, because you're with the sales team, to do as much as you can to get face time and exposure real time with customers. It doesn't mean that you have to be the leader of the meeting and you have to go through, but just observing and seeing what the dynamics are and getting exposed to that, I think, is super valuable too. Just like I mentioned, understand why people are getting objectives. And because you're not the person that's trying to sell something, you can look at it through a different angle, and you can look at it more strategically of, okay, why is that person asking that question? What do they really need to know? Why didn't our response land? So you can start to think more like psychology. And then from there, I really believe that the benefits of field are twofold: accelerating existing pipeline and figuring out how to make field work across the entire marketing to top level digital. So like connecting field with everything else, I actually think is the biggest miss overall from field marketers. And so in pipeline stuff, like we've run dinners, run events to close big deals, works great. So that type of stuff, like Sendoso to people that are in pipe can be a good thing, or an experience to people that are in virtual experience to people that are in pipe. All that stuff can work, and you can be someone that helps with that. But I want to talk mainly about how to connect field with everything else, which I think is the biggest opportunity here. And so when like thinking about when you're going to an event, or when you're going to do a field ride, or when you're going to do something, to be strategic about how am I going to amplify this event or moment or something onto the internet, where most of the value will happen on the internet. Field marketers think that the value happens one-on-one with the person that they're talking to, but it really happens when you elevate that moment, and then it gets exposed to 5,000 people overall. And so what I would do if I was a field marketer, number one, is I would start to figure out how I can set up the events that I'm going to set up anyway to do pipeline acceleration. But I'm going to figure out how to record them, and I'm going to figure out how to create content out of them, so that I'm not only doing it for these 3 accounts, I'm going to do it for everybody. And so I think that connection point, connecting in-person physical experiences with scaled digital distribution, is the magic and the future of field marketing. Because you can do so much cool stuff if you think about it that way. Yeah, I would be happy to answer a couple follow-ups, but that's where my brain's going.
Perfect. So a follow-up question is, let's say, for example, if you are going to be attending a trade show and we're going to be having a booth. I listened to one of the podcasts that you did episode with the CMO at Six Sense. I thought it was great. And I remember she mentioned that one of the things that she said to you was she's running a lot of money on trade shows or booths, and you don't really recommend it. But it also varies from what I remember what you said. In this case, what is the best thing for me to do? So I'm definitely going to be paying attention to the sales team, how are they interacting with our customers, and just really listening to the objections that they're doing. But as a booth staff, besides amplifying the engagement, what other things that I could do personally? This event's gonna be in like 2 weeks, so I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, so Latney and I are totally aligned that most trade show booth expenses are a huge waste of money, and that marketing money and all the effort and time spent coordinating, building the booth, having a bunch of people fly there, being out of the field and doing could be better used in different ways. But moving into what you can do, because it was the second to last company that I was an employee of did 11 trade shows a year. So and they were going to do most of them regardless of what I said. So I was going to make the best of them. So what I started to do was I would identify who are the influential people that my buyers listen to, and are they going to be here? Are they on the speaker list? Like a good way to look would be to look at the agenda of who are all the people that are speaking. And then I would see, like Rob from over here is speaking on this topic, and Alex over here is speaking on this topic. But wouldn't it be cool if we actually had them come and talk about these two things together? And I would set up like a satellite type of event, and it wouldn't be an event; it would just be we would record it, and we would create a roundtable or an interview or something like that, leveraging people that were already there to create content and information. And then once you do that, you also get to establish relationships with the people that are most influential with your customers. And so that would be my number one. The number two would be if your sales team has people that they want to do pipeline acceleration on, I would focus on that next. The thing that people don't understand is that using a trade show to collect net new business is generally a losing game, in my view, especially if you're waiting people to show up at your booth. I think the key is leveraging already existing relationships, already existing customers, creating content, and doing market research are the best ways to do a trade show. And so I would go to the trade show. I would not do the booth. I would do all of those things instead, and it would cost 10 times less and be more effective.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. I
Cool.
appreciate it. This is
Good to see you, Danny. Keep the questions coming, man. You're doing a great job.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
All right. I'm going to bring back a favorite, seller turned marketer, the latest TikTok sensation, Bob. You're on live.
I don't know about TikTok sensation, but thanks. So, Chris, I had a 3-part social question for you. I thought maybe we could do some rapid fire on Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. But I'll start on Facebook. For most of the last year, I ran traffic campaigns with landing page optimization, 20 to 40,000 landing page, 20 to 40,000 reach, 2x frequency. I turn off the ad. 1,000 views or so on average, let's say full views to the video. And, sometimes landing page hits vary, a couple hundred, sometimes maybe 1,000, whatever it would be. And then some time ago, last year, you talked about running brand campaigns to increase your reach. Mm-hmm. Ran those. It seemed that back then, I think there was a recent change. It defaulted to ad recall lift, and it got like maybe 100,000 reach. And, and again, I can't find a clear-cut winner here. I'm running different types of ads, so I'm never really sure.
Yep.
Some get more landing page. I'm trying to get away from any sort of attribution and just know that the message is the value. But as a sales guy, I like when I get the contact requests and a demo booked, of course.
Oh yeah.
So I'm, I'm always conflicted with, well, this one got 2,000 views, but not like no contact requests this week. And then, but I know it's a cumulative thing over time too. Who can really directly attribute?
Are you not getting contact requests at all, or just not getting contact request direct response from the ads?
Well, first of all, I'm not running a super sophisticated attribution collection system.
I totally get it. But like when you run the ads for a week, is it just that people aren't converting from the ad, or that nobody's coming to your website and saying, I want to talk to you, Bob?
It seems to vary some weeks. So some weeks there's 2,000 views and 100 landing page hits, and another week I'll get 1,000 landing page hits. And some weeks when I get low landing page hits, I'll get like 4 direct book demos, and that's a huge winner versus getting 1,000 landing page hits and no contact requests. So I can't put my finger on what the best solution is. But so I was going to. There's a second part of this. Just recently, I went to run another ad campaign. A brand, and it defaulted now to reach instead of ad recall lift. That's the new default. I think it changed defaults, and I got even more reach, like 150,000 reach, and so got a lot of views. But I'm still juggling. What do you think is the best for? Is it maximum reach? Is it ad recall lift? Is it just keep doing variations? That's my first question, kind of.
Yeah, there was a lot there. So on the awareness side, what I found in my personal experience is that on LinkedIn, the awareness objective works better than the landing page objective. You get lower CPMs and you get lower CPCs, even though you're not optimizing for clicks, because just the LinkedIn platform is not that sophisticated. I don't know what else to say. And so if you're not looking for like your lead gen forms to get filled out on LinkedIn, and you're looking for content to be consumed, and you're looking, like, I just found that you get lower CPMs, lower CPCs, more consumption, better overall results by using the awareness versus the landing page click type of objective. On Facebook, the answer is less clear. There's a lot more trade-offs where if you move to awareness, you can't use audience expansion. If you're not using, if you're using awareness and you have like a native audience, it starts to get unclear when you turn to awareness how they expand the audience to deliver the reach. And so I was pretty inconclusive when it came to Facebook on reach versus landing pages. I started moving to reach and testing that because the attribution was so messed up that we weren't getting any in-platform custom conversions from Facebook. And so when we weren't getting that, I was just like, I might as well just take my 10,000 accounts and make sure that they all get the message. But honestly, the tests were inconclusive.
Bringing you back, Bob.
Sure. Yeah, I got muted there. Sorry if I have background noise there. So okay, so perfect, Chris. You totally answered the question because I couldn't figure out what was more conclusive on Facebook. LinkedIn, I'm clearly not running enough budget, I don't think, because I've been running an ad for like the better part of a month with a $2,000 ad spend, and I'm still at a 1 frequency. What's nice is I think that the full view percentage that, however many thousands of views, I'm running at basically, it looks like it's around, let's just say it's 75 cents a full view. And on Facebook, let's say I typically get around 50 cents a view on a full view of a video. So that was like 1.5 times. I remember you saying 2X was a good, if you're at 2X, the cost of Facebook, you're in a pretty good targeting.
From a CPM standpoint or a CPC standpoint?
In terms of the cost, in terms of just the cost of and maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, so that's why I'm asking. I just remember you saying like the cost of the ad for what you got out of it, you said it would run like 2X what Facebook costs you. So I was going by view consumption. Maybe I should be looking at CPM instead.
When I was talking about that was when you could use custom conversions on Facebook and you can compare. So we were paying like cost per attributable custom conversion demo in quotes for the people that are listening afterwards at like $750 on Facebook and like $1,500 on LinkedIn. And that's where you get the 2x, but it's more of like these people were a cold audience and then converted on a demo within 30 days, which is, I think, a much more meaningful metric than like the cost per view.
Gotcha. I'm not set up to track that, but okay, I got it.
Because iOS 14, you can't track it on Facebook anymore. So
gotcha.
Don't worry about it.
So final question. I appreciate all your info.
Yeah, of course.
Dipped my toe into doing some organic TikTok due to TikTok Todd and Matt Skinella, of course. So just been trying to run some videos, and actually I was surprised to see, comparatively speaking, to some other videos out there, that some of the videos I posted got 500 or 600 views, and TikTok just seems to count like even if it's an impression as a view. So I'm not really seeing, and I wanted you to clarify this maybe. I don't really see the play for B2B, like higher ticket B2B sales on TikTok right now today. Is there any company doing it well right now in the B2B world that you would say follow these people and see what they're doing? Because I'm lost on it, and I threw out half a dozen videos, and I'm just curious to see if I should keep ticking. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I told you that like right now there's this like massive opportunity in TikTok for high ticket B2B. There's not. However, it's clear that that's the move that's going to happen. That just like, I don't know what it was, 5-6 years ago, when 50-year-olds were like, I'll never use Instagram, now they use it every day. It's the same thing's going to happen. And so it's just whether or not when all those people go, if you want to know how to create content that people already like it, that you have 10,000 followers instead of 4 followers. And that's a business decision. Just like if it was 10 years ago when you were going to decide, okay, now I'm going to start my SEO strategy. You wouldn't expect your SEO strategy to deliver a bunch of leads and traffic the next day. And so it's thinking about, you're going to make some long-term plays, you're going to make some short-term plays, and then you got to decide, is now the right time to make a more long-term play on TikTok? For you, it might not be. For us, I think we went through why we're prioritizing TikTok, but maybe you shouldn't. And so, yeah, that's about as honest as I can get on it.
Do you think the hashtags have any effect? Like some of the hashtags pertaining to my industry, let's just say optical or eyes, some of them have 100 million, some of them have 1 billion views. Does adding the hashtags on the ad have any impact on the not on the ad, on the organic video? Does it have any impact on it actually being delivered?
I don't have a clear answer on that. Todd would probably have a better answer. My assumption is yes, but I don't know for sure. Todd can shoot you a text, and because we're posting about, I think, once or twice a day, trying to understand the dynamics of the algorithm. So we'll let you know what we're finding.
Very cool. That's all I got. Thank you so much for all your information, Chris.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Good to have you, Bob.
I introduced you as a TikTok sensation, so
yeah, it's true.
Keep it up.
Yeah, it's true. Want to go back to the agenda?
Okay, I have 2 really good questions lined up, but knock out that last agenda item, and then we'll have Andrew, Pablo, and then my closer Nelson.
We'll do this agenda when I get back from Costa Rica. If I had a little bit more time, I think it'll be better for everyone. So let's just continue the questions. Actually. Okay.
I really want Andrew to ask his question, and may or may not have to do with me trying to find some great directors of demand gen. Andrew, you're live. Okay. Please ask your question.
All right. What are the top 3 signals you look for when looking for a top 5% director of demand gen?
Number 1, do they understand the funnel dynamics? Going into that, do they understand the right metrics to optimize for? And so there's 2 components of that, right? So someone could say, I could say, what's working the best for you right now? And they could say, paid search is working the best for us right now. And I would say, how are you measuring whether or not it's successful? And they say, leads. And I say, we don't even need to continue this interview any further. Right? Or I could go back and they could say paid search, and I could say, how are you measuring that? And they're like pipeline. And then you start digging in. Okay, how do you define pipeline? What does that mean? And pipeline actually just means there was a meeting booked with an SDR, which again is a bad metric. And so when you dive in and you actually look at these questions, what you find is that what I find is that 95% of marketers are optimizing for a metric that doesn't help their sales team, and they don't even know. So when you peel back the layers, you start to see that, because then they're like, oh, we're optimizing for pipeline. How do you define pipeline? Oh, it's when there's a meeting booked with an SDR. Oh, how often do those convert to revenue? I have no idea. Right? And then the whole argument breaks down. If you can't connect your activities to revenue in a logical way, you're not a top 5 or a top 1% demand marketer. So that's number one. Number two is there's a huge amount of people that know what to say but don't know why they're saying it. Like I'm going to ungate all my content, or what else do people say? Use a lot of the things that I talk about here. Ungate content, do native consumption in the feed, fuck attribution, whatever people are saying. Then you start to peel back and you're like, but why are we doing it that way? Why would you do it? And they just don't understand the underlying mechanics, which ends up breaking down. So I think that would be number two. And then the last one is understanding how buyers buy, how their buyers buy. And so I'm not going to be like, tell me about the buying journey of your customer. That would be too like direct of a question. But like when you start to be like, okay, so what's working the best for you? What channels are working? How is that happening? Things like that. And you start to see that either they're all funneling into lower funnel channels, like those are the only channels that exist, or they're using like quote unquote like awareness channels in the improper ways to run lead gen, or that they just try and shove B2B buyers through a funnel. And I'll just ask them, like, have you ever talked to your buyers about like when they want to talk to a sales rep, or how that's working for them, or what they want to do, or all of those questions lead to like lack of understanding of buyers, which is again, like you can't be a 1% marketer if you don't deeply understand how your buyers want to buy. So
if I can ask a follow-up on that last one.
Yeah, okay? Of course. Yeah, let me just recap it so we get it for the clip here. And so we have, what do we have again? Shit.
Funnel metrics.
Yeah. Measuring the right metrics and understanding the funnel, understanding how your buyers want to buy, and not only knowing what to do, but knowing why. Thanks. Okay. Let's do the follow-up, Andrew. Thanks.
I was like, I think we need to re-record that, but okay. Go ahead, Andrew. Andrew, ready for your
on that
that
last one, questions you would ask to kind of get to that or get a sense of that. Mm-hmm. Is that like, hey, tell me about a time where you uncovered an important insight about your customers, and like how did you find that insight? How did you get that insight? And then, how did you go and apply that? Or are you doing
I don't
else?
Ask that directly. It's mainly focused on like the starting point. Literally, I'm just telling you how I interview here. It's like, what's working the best for you right now? And then they're gonna like, and if you are a top 1% marketer and you don't have a very clear, direct answer about what's working the best for you right now, then you're not. And so another thing, this is off topic, but I'll go into companies and I'll look at how their marketing budget's allocated. And they have a $3 million program budget, and they just put $250K on like 12 different programs. And I'm like, it's so obvious that you have no idea what the fuck's working right now, because if you did, the budget wouldn't be allocated this way. You'd have a couple of programs that are getting way more money. And so like, it's like I started at the beginning, you don't need to have 12 things that are running. You need 1 or 2 things that are really working at one time. And like, so at the moment, LinkedIn and a podcast are really doing it for us, along with these events. It's all kind of one thing. And then maybe in 2 years, LinkedIn starts to die down because there's a bunch of spam, and the people from Microsoft that bought it don't really understand how to run a social network, and the algorithm isn't great, and there's just a lot of, I think, downsides to the network. So B2B buyers move somewhere else. And that's why and then TikTok and podcasts become the main part of the mix. And so there's an interesting thing. I just think about it way differently than others, is like, if you actually simplified your mix and you focused on a couple of things working really well, I believe that most companies would get better results that way. I'm not exactly even sure what your original question was, but let me know if I got to it or not.
You got me there.
Yeah. So I'll try and go a little bit further, because it all starts about what's working the best for you right now. And then I mentioned that some people don't know, and that's where I stopped. But when you think about, when you're looking at the angle of, do these people understand buyers? Like there's how do I explain this? There's certain like triggers and actions and things that people say that are telling that they don't respect how their buyers want to buy. So like the download an ebook to the cold call play is super obvious, right? Like nobody wants that. If you asked your buyer, they would definitely say, I don't want you to do that. And so when I see people that are talking about like these certain things, and then they say, we're doing that, like maybe I'll say, have you ever asked your customer how they want to buy? They're like things like that. But typically it's just, if you knew your customer, you wouldn't do certain things.
All right. We've got a great podcast superstar, Pablo Gonzalez, coming on next. Let me bring you on so that you can ask your question live. Welcome, Pablo. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks, Megan. Hey, Chris. Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to see you again. What's up?
Oh, man. Just been taking all your advice, right?
Okay.
Really niching down, figuring out who I'm talking to as I'm creating this content. We've been running this play of the live event on a weekly fashion as a service to clients, but then, knew I had to eat my own dog food based on the first advice you gave me, and like really designed that for myself. As a growing agency, we're kind of starting to figure it out, in the sense that like we've got a bunch of new clients, and we've gotten really clear on who we're talking to, but I still get inquiries from people that are just outside of that, exactly who I'm trying to talk to, wanting to use my stuff. And I'm wondering, when you were kind of growing Refine Labs, or at least what should a person do that has close to product market fit and starting to get opportunities outside of the ICP? Should I chase that stuff to keep iterating with those types of clients while continuing to talk to one clientele? Or should I only be talking to one clientele and only trying to do business with that in order to really prove out whether that's my ICP or not?
It's a really good question. I think you need to think about whether there is strategic value in doing it for that company that's kind of outside of the ICP, so that right? And so like at one point we didn't have any customers that were more than 1,000 employees. And so it was like, is it too big? Is there going to be way too much organizational change? Is there too much red tape? Are they not going to let us in their systems? I want to know if this is going to work or not. And so we took certain customers that were outside to learn, and to be direct and honest, like some worked out great and we learned some awesome things, and certain ones didn't work out great and we understood why. And so I think at the early stage, it's okay as long as you think that the customer is going to be, that you have an idea that you think the customer might be successful, also thinking that it's not going to be a distraction from you growing. But I think that those are I think it's reasonable to kind of extend out of the ICP a little bit in order to, mainly for the learning of it, because you might end up seeing hey, actually these people belong in the ICP because they have this thing that's also similar to our customers. So our original ICP that we were using, employee size and industry, actually wasn't the right way. It's about their business model that actually matters, not what industry they're in. So you can start to learn some more nuances by trying that stuff.
I want to add something here, Pablo. I think what I would also say in going through this journey with Chris is there's probably a couple of things that are really non-negotiable that would apply to your current ICP and the people that are outside of your ICP. So it's also really identifying, if you look at your best customers, putting firmographics aside, what are the other conditions that make them the best customer? They're philosophically aligned, you have executive level buy-in, they're at a certain stage of maturity, these other things that maybe are more intangible. And if you're outside of ICP has those things, that's another good signal that that's likely a good bet for you.
I think that's exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
And then keep going and keep clarifying.
Cool.
You're not going to go from, it's almost the same principle as moving up market, right? And there's a lot of companies that think that you just like, okay, one day it's like, okay, we're going to stop selling to SMB and we're going to go sell to 10,000 employee plus companies. Here we go. The ACV is going to be way higher. Let's build it on our spreadsheet. Everything will work out great. And then it all breaks down in practice because you didn't have product market fit. You don't have go to market fit. And the logical way to do it that all successful companies do is that they march up, keep working up, working at bigger companies, learning, going smaller steps, which is what we're doing over here. But we got a nice little sweet spot that we're working through, and there's plenty of companies that need our help at this size, and we're going to do it.
Love it, man. Thank you.
Good to see you.
You too.
All right. Feel like you might still need to pack for Costa Rica, so I'm bringing on the closer. Nelson, I loved question 2 and 3 of what you submitted, so you can pick which one you're going to ask first. Oh.
Nice. Let me just get prepared here. One sec.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
We got to get some type of intro for this now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you guys didn't catch the tasty takeaways from DGL last Wednesday, my screenshot was featured in Nelson's post.
All right. Are we on?
You're in.
We're on. Go.
We're live.
Nice one. Hey, Chris, everyone. Yeah, so the question I have for tonight, let's see. So what would you say to the allegation that proper marketing, all the different tactics and channels, content marketing, social, paid, whatnot, that they reach these plateaus, there's no new combinations or optimizations that are possible, and that therefore marketing has to resort to the old school, maybe bad marketing tactics like annoying buyers with telemarketing, email spam, LinkedIn spam, doing the gated ebooks and the trade shows just to kind of get anything with a heartbeat and try to force them into sales.
You're measuring the wrong things because that shit doesn't work not well enough to spend a lot of money on it. So if you're measuring the right things, what you'd see is that it doesn't work. So it's when you shift the bar, what companies really need to get to, and basically the crux of when marketing and sales are not aligned, and when marketing's hitting goals and sales is missing targets by a lot, the only reason is because marketing's optimizing for a goal that doesn't map to sales outcomes. And so what I'm suggesting that companies do is that they move marketing's goal from whatever it is right now, MQAs, pipeline, SQLs, whatever, to this is the stage that we're going to put deals in that close at greater than 25%, and they must continue to close one customer revenue at more than 25% for us to keep optimizing there. And then there's no confusion. And then if you did that, and then you started running all these tactics, you would see, oh, what it's doing is it's creating a lot of activity, right? Like we're having more conversations, we're having more meetings, but very few of them are actually making it this far. And even if they do make it this far, they don't make it all the way to close one. So why are we doing it? So if you change the goal from marketing, it stops a lot of those tactics. The second thing to think about is that this stuff is the most scalable. I don't know what else to say. Like, I've been doing this podcast for 86 weeks in a row or something like that, 3 episodes a week for 86 weeks. And I keep doing the same 3, 4, 5 hours a week in the podcast, I keep getting all the benefits of getting market research from you, building relationships with you, understanding my buyers better, communicating our narrative better, learning new things. I'm getting all the benefits of just doing the exercise. But also, 20,000 times more people listen to it than when I started. At one point we had one listener. Now we have more than 20,000. And so I don't understand how that's not scalable. What's not scalable is running performance marketing. Performance marketing plateaus, especially if you measure it on the right outcomes. So would be happy to answer a follow-up there, but it's the only, like, if you change the goal, which is what I was going to talk about on the agenda item that we're going to pass, is like, you need to set the right goal is step one.
And then maybe just a quick clarification for the people who are listening. Why do you say that performance marketing plateaus?
Because I'll give you a good example here. Let's say that you're selling something, you got 50,000, actually let's use my hospital example. When we were selling medical devices, we had 5,000, there's only a limited amount of hospitals in the US. There was 5,000 total accounts that we could sell to. And so if you ran performance marketing lead gen to outbound cold calls, you'd burn through all of your accounts in like a couple of months. And then what are you going to do? You're going to have to change your strategy. You're going to keep annoying your buyers, or you're going to have to change your strategy. And so as the total addressable market gets smaller, you actually have to be way more strategic about how you do marketing and sales, is my view. And that's why it plateaus, because it's not even plateauing. It's that the efficiency is so bad that it's like impossible to scale. That's a better way to put it. And so we have some like basic spreadsheet math so people can understand this. Like, if you can put this in a spreadsheet and do the math, you're going to convert 0.1% of performance marketing lead gen leads that don't come from high intent search or branded search. 0.1% of those leads are going to become a customer, 1 out of 1,000. And about 2% are going to make it to a qualified op. So that means that, what's that? I think 1 out of 50. So your SDRs need to spend all that time to get one person to a qualified op. And even after that, you're only going to win them at about 5%. And now imagine that you need to win hundreds of deals to hit your revenue target. So you end up scaling out headcount of sales resources, SDRs, and AEs. And if you literally just put it into a spreadsheet, you're like, we could never have that many people work here. Our CAC would be too high. We wouldn't be able to pay them because our burn would be so high. Like, this isn't going to work. And so I think those are some of the things that people don't see because they blend the funnel together. So they take branded search and high intent website conversions and mix it with performance marketing. They blend it all together so it all looks average. But if you actually split it out, you see that performance marketing is terrible. And just by way of the category being there and you being an established company, a certain amount of buyers are going to come to you and want to buy no matter what.
That's great. Thank you. And that leads me into my next question nicely. So can you talk about the split the funnel test, maybe run people through that quickly, and especially like what mistakes do companies make during that test that people should avoid as they're trying to separate the components of the good marketing and the bad marketing to see which side their bread is buttered on. And maybe particularly touching upon CAC, because maybe I think that might be where some people get a little where things get a little messy. Mm-hmm. And that maybe you can relate based on all the tests that you've done on the split the funnel tests and what you've heard anecdotally from fellow DGL folks. What should one typically expect when you compare the end results, when you compare the revenue, when you compare the number of opportunities, the conversion rate, sales cycle, CAC, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so the split the funnel analysis is best suited and best used for companies that are obsessed with attribution and therefore run high volume lead gen. And the reason that they run high volume lead gen is to feed their SDRs. Some people will literally say to keep my SDRs busy. Not to help our customers, not to drive revenue, to keep our SDRs busy. And so when you run the analysis, that's who it's best suited for. Because if you literally look and you say, okay, we're getting these 30,000 leads, and these are the places where they're coming from, and now I'm going to look at each individual source of where they come from, and I'm going to calculate lead to win, sales cycle length, what's the cost of the sales resources needed to support it, what's the direct advertising or program cost, customer acquisition in order to get it. And when you actually go and look at them individually, you'd see, wow, this stuff is really bad. And so if you did that, and that was the purpose of why you were doing it, you would look and you'd say, okay, like, we need to shut all of, like, we don't need to, but we should shut all of these things off, because we're so data driven. And if we were data driven and we have the data right in front of us that says this stuff has a CAC payback of 48 months, that I would hope that you can figure out something else that works better. I would hope. But the mistakes that people make are twofold. One, they never do the analysis. They just are oblivious. They keep ignorant, keep running their machine. The second one is that once the data is in front of them, they make excuses about it, and they just ignore it. And so in that instance, it's like, oh, but like we're in multi-touch journeys. Visible is saying that stuff is working, you know. But if you actually look at the tactic, it's like, but wait, you're literally running high volume lead gen and then cold calling people, and people aren't closing. What do you mean that it's working? Because there was a touch point on one account that then you take visible touch points and you like expand them out, and you see an account closed, and you say, this contact way over here that was in a lead gen program that had one touch from an ebook campaign, and then the account closed 2 years later for these separate reasons with a different buyer, and that campaign deserves to be attributed that way. And so people will take attribution software and take liberties to give credit to programs that literally aren't working. And so I think those are a couple of the key mistakes, is not doing it at all. And number two would be like making excuses once the data's in front of you and it's clear.
That's awesome. Thanks, Chris. And then I was just out of curiosity, for those folks who do that test and then see the light and want to make a change, you know, and I think you've spoken that there are certain organizational vested interests in not wanting to make that change. I guess, how do you suggest that people overcome that? And in particular, do you try to ally with finance, you know, who are the people, you know, holding the purse strings and just being like, hey guys, like, you might want to take a look at this, and then kind of loop them in the cause?
I don't try and ally with anyone. I give my buyers all of the information that they need so that they can go and get the job done at their company. And if they can't get the job done, they're not going to be a good customer for us. And so I know that the CMOs that see the content share it with the CFO, share it with the CEO. And I arm them with the information that they need, that if they want to do it and they're capable of making the case and doing it, then they can. But if they need me to help them make a business case to do it, then they're not the right CMO to work with us. I think is like a really easy, interesting way of looking at it. It's almost like self-qualifying who's going to be a good customer by who can take the information and go inspire change in the organization. The second piece of not allying with everyone, and maybe that was a little bit strong, is that I'm not interested in convincing anybody to work with us that doesn't want to work with us. And so it's a clear thing for anyone that's doing sales or doing marketing or an entrepreneur running a company like Pablo, is like, it's a complete waste of time to try and convince people that don't believe in the way that you see the world to try and believe it. I was literally on a call today with a company, and I was going through, and they were like, yeah, and some of the stuff that you mentioned, yeah, but we ran the analysis, but it's multi-touch attribution, and like, I don't really understand. And I was like, we don't have to have this conversation. We can stop here. All I'm saying, if you feel good that for the past 8 fiscal quarters, your pipeline from marketing has been flat, it hasn't grown for 8 quarters, and you feel good about that, then we can end the conversation right now. And so, like, those are, obviously I didn't say it as strongly as that, but like, some people just don't want the stuff, right? Like, if you are a marketing leader and the pipeline that you generate for the past 2 years has been flat, you are not being successful. It's just the straight up like reality. You need to grow pipeline to grow a company. So I don't know how I got on those tangents, but that's what's on my mind.
That was great. Thanks, Chris. I just wanted to get you fired up before your vacation.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
Nelson, I got a great screenshot that I'll send your way.
We've tried to broadcast live from my vacations multiple times, and for Wi-Fi issues or other reasons, it just hasn't worked out. So we're not even going to try this time.
For the best. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, it was great to have everyone here. Really love it. I'm sure everyone's going to have at least people in the U.S. have a great holiday next week. Hopefully you're able to take some time to chill, spend some time with the family, recharge, relax, come back for a solid couple of weeks in December, and then do it all over again. And so, love being here with all of you. I'm going to spend some time thinking, strategizing, putting together some plans, and hopefully come back with even more ways to help you all get better is the goal. But appreciate all you being here. Appreciate the questions. Love seeing you here, and we'll see you the November 30th. I think the next one will be
2 weeks from today. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Grateful for all of you. See you soon.
Bye.